Yeah, YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you another episode of Learn JavaScript with Foundry VTT. And as you can see, we're in Foundry version 10, build 291. I believe that's still, I think it's been a while. I know 11 is actually right around the corner for release, so guess we'll see that when that happens. What was I doing? You can see in the last couple episodes, several episodes, we created a couple macros. We did a get data one just to get information, recon type stuff from our tokens and from targets and all that fun stuff. We did one that does dark vision that will make it so, you know, if you have a Twilight Cleric, or you can modify the script slightly and make it, you know, if I have the what is it called, goggles of night vision or whatever, where if I put them on, I have dark vision, where I take them off I don't, so it toggles between that. And we also made a little macro that does initiative with advantage, and automatically updates the combat tracker if you're in it. If you're not in it, it will error out saying, hey, you're not even in initiative mode yet. So now we're going to, I need to open this guy real quick. We're going to jump back into learning some JavaScripty stuff. What I think my lesson plan, so to speak, is for the next few, we're going to do destructuring. We're going to learn about the spread operator, the rest pattern, and rest parameters. We're going to learn about short circuiting, a nullish coalescing operator. Then after that, we have optional chaining, sets, maps, string methods, higher order function, bind methods, ifs, closures, working with arrays, and kind of showing you what the equivalent, I guess, of OOP or object-oriented programming is in this. So this episode, we're going to jump into destructuring, which is a very handy thing, and I'll show you why. So we need this guy real quick. We're going to hit Control C on that, and we're going to create a new macro. We are on 11. I don't think it's going to be an A or a part or anything like that, so we're just going to do 11 and destructuring. T-U-R-N-G, I think that's it. And this is for both objects and arrays. So I'm going to do maybe A-R-A-Y-S / O-B-J-E-C-T-S, something like that. That's got to be our biggest one name of a thing yet. Oh, and it's not even in our, I forgot to put it inside there. There we go. All right, so now we have 11 here. Let's go ahead and open it and begin. So destructuring actually is a very handy thing. Let's go ahead and hit V before I forget and do this. Let's say we have an array, and I'm going to grab one that is, this is just an array of our different stats, and because it's an array, you know, this would be element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if I wanted to actually take this array and assign it to variables, I would have to do something like the following. And once again, because I'm a slow typer, I'm just going to copy and paste, because this is more of a refresh at the moment. So I would have to do something like this. I would have to say string, I'm trying to remember why I put the M's there in my demo. Oh, because I end up using it again. So this is our string M, and I would set that to attribute 0, which would be 8. Then dex M, attributes would be 1, attribute 16, so on and so forth. So that's how I would normally have to do this if I wanted to take these values of the array and actually assign them to variables. So for example, let me just look at my notes real quick. So then if I want to output any of these, you know, I could now just do print console log string M, right? Actually, I guess I had a little function here. I think the reason I did this because I wrote a little function that would convert these to their mod values. So what you can see here, what it's doing is when we do this and say print out, I think that's what I called it, print out, and we're going to pass it in one of these values. So let's do, for example, let's do int, and we could say intm because we want to get the mod. And what this is going to do is it's going to pass it in, and this is going to do a little bit of math on it. It's going to take our attribute, which is int m in this case, and assign it to att. Then it's going to subtract 10 from that and divide by 2, which will actually give you the modifier. Then it's going to output rise, which is my wizard in one of my D&D campaigns that I play in. It will say his attribute, int attribute is this, and this is the mod. Now, actually, I'm not sure why. Oh, actually, I do know why this is doing this. So if it's a positive, it's going to put a plus in front of it. If not, this will actually return a negative and actually give us a negative. So if we do this now, go ahead and do that, and we run it, which I need to shrink this, you'll see it's going to do exactly what we want it to. Technically, this part I'm just giving you as a bonus, I guess, because this really doesn't have anything to do with destructuring. So if we do that, clear it, and do that, now you can see rise, it has an int of 17, which is a +3 modifier. So if you didn't know, this is how you can actually calculate the modifier off of an attribute value. All right, so let's continue on. Now let's say we wanted to get this same information, but we didn't want to have to do it all slow like we're doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a console log here. And we need that, so it actually prints a line. I'm going to enter a bunch of times, then we're going to come back up. So destructuring is a way that we can actually take these values, and since I know what they actually mean, I can actually in one line assign them to a thing, and it'll kind of look like we're creating an array, but it's not actually doing that. So here's what we would do. We do const, and we want to take all these different attribute values and assign them to, you know, strength, dex, constitution, institution, intelligence, wisdoms, and charisma. So what we do is we kind of make it look like we're doing an array here, and we would do str, comma, dex, comma, coin, comma, int, comma, wiz, and comma, cha. And then we would say that equals, and it would be our attributes array at this point. So attrib attribs. So what this is going to do, it kind of looks like we're actually creating an array here, but you can't really create an array of variable names. So because it's on the left side of the equals, it's actually treating this as whatever I get from this array, I'm going to assign to the same thing. So this will be the first value, or the one in place 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now the nice thing about this is, now if I want to do print out int again, print out, and we could just do int, you'll see that we're going to actually get the exact same results, because it's just taking this and assigning one-to-one each of these things. So if we go ahead, clear that, you'll see we get the exact same results, but now we didn't actually have to do all this stuff. Now, of course, this only works with int because we actually label int here. We could pass other things in here to make it, you know, we could actually pass in the, you know, maybe name for the name of the actual attribute, and then have it do any. But right now it only does int, and that's good enough for what we're looking for. All right, so this is destructuring. Kind of looks like we're building an array on the left side of the equals, but technically what we're actually doing is destructuring an array into our variables. And it simply does that one-to-one. We cannot actually assign something. Like if I put strength down here, it would actually get the value that's right here instead of the strength. It's not actually associating that. If I did 0, 1, 2, you know, the actual elements, one is you can't have a variable that is a number. So if we tried doing this and it tried starting with, you know, 0 being that, we're going to throw an error saying, hey, I can't destructure into an actual number value. So that's kind of the difference between the an actual array and when you're destructuring. Let's see. Let me check my notes real quick where we're at. We're here. So now there is, like, if I really didn't care about strength, dex, and con, I can still destructure into those values. However, I just leave these ones blank because, like I said, it's just doing a one-to-one. If we actually have a blank spot, it's not going to assign anything. Now let me just show you what I mean by that. We're going to go ahead, bring our console log down here so we have another space, and we'll go ahead and do that. So let's say, and this time I guess I'm just going to do a letter D here, and we're not going to print out our thing. But let's go and do that real quick. And I needed to check. Yeah, just looking at my notes, our destructuring objects is going to be a little bit more in depth. We're going to start the destructuring of objects. But I think I'm actually going to call this arrays, like so. But when this video goes out, it'll actually have arrays and objects. So, so this is going to be our last little bit on destructuring, this next piece. So let's go ahead and look at if we didn't want, so const, let's say we didn't want the strength. We didn't care about strength. And we don't care about wisdom and charisma. For whatever reason, all we really care about is our dex, con, and int. So the way we would do that is we know that the first one's strength, so we just put a comma there. This is simply going to assign to nothing the strength value. And then if we want the other one, we'll do D for dex. We'll do, what is the next? Con. We'll do C for con, I for int. And then we're going to go ahead and just do 2 more commas to be placeholders for our wisdom and our charisma. And we can do the same thing, say equals and attrib attribs. And go, oops, I had that right. I didn't have that totally right. Okay, so if we do that, now you can see we actually are just getting those ones. So I'm going to, once again, copy and paste this to show you that it's going to work because it's a little more complex. So here what we're going to do is, because we're assigning D, we can use D. We're assigning C, we can use C, and we can use I. However, if I were to try and do something here, one, I don't even have a variable to try and assign to. The thing I just thought of myself that I'm not 100% sure, and we're going to test this, is if we get rid of, say, those two, is it going to error out because we have 2 more values that we're trying to assign to absolutely nothing, or will it automatically just say, hey, they don't want that? So let's go ahead and try that and see if we error out. I was kind of expecting to error out, but I'm glad we didn't. So here you can see we actually did our D, there's our C, and there's our I, and they're being assigned, and everything is working properly. Let's go ahead and do one more example, and then we will be done with the arrays portion because they're so simple. So let's go ahead and we're going to take something a little more complex. So I'm going to get an attributes 2 for us. We're going to put it right here. And where this is more complex is this is basically saying our intelligence is a 17, which is a modifier of 3. So it's basically the same thing as this thing, but we're actually just having a static value. So now we actually have an array that is multidimensional. This is two-dimensional. So how do we handle this? Well, let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to kind of use everything else that we've done. We're going to, skip some values just so you kind of get the idea, and keep some values. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do a const. We're going to go ahead and say we don't care about strength. Whoops. Sorry, we don't care about strength. For dex, we'll just call it D2 because D is already being used. We'll take dex. For constitution, we'll take that as C2. And then we have this array value, right? So here's our strength, here's our dex, here's our constitution. Now we have an array value, our second dimension of our array. So we do that just by simply putting a second one of these. We're going to skip the actual intelligence modifier by putting just a comma. And we want our intelligence modifier. So I'm going to call that intelligence modifier, and we'll just do a 2 to follow suit with what else. Oh, whoops, I did that in the wrong spot. That's a 3. We're going to do it here, doing IM2. And then we're outside of it. If we don't want our next value, we could just put a comma. However, because actually this needs a comma there, I almost forgot about. So we could put a comma here if we didn't want our next value, which would be our not intelligence, wisdom. Then we could stick another comma there, and then we could keep our final one if we wanted, or we don't have to with charisma, or if we're not taking anything else, we can actually just say, hey, that's good enough. And we'll go ahead and call this attributes 2, right? Attributes 2. And then once again, I'm just going to grab it from here, do a Control C and a Control V, and change this to an M in here. So now what it's going to do is grab those these actual variables. It doesn't care that this is inside a level of our array. It's simply saying there is another variable called IM2. So if we clear this and run it, you'll actually see everything worked great. We have our dex, our con, and our int mod is 3. So that's kind of a really quick rundown of destructuring arrays. And we're actually decent on time. So maybe this video will only be destructuring arrays, and probably the next 2 videos will be destructuring objects. So let's go ahead and call it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Click the little notification bell. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discord and my other channels. Don't forget to tell other people about my channel. Come check it out. They like what they see, they sub. And that is it, my friends. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.